Hey, what's up guys and gals? My name is Ricknineg. Welcome to another movie review. I am so happy to review this film because I've been trying to see it for so long and I finally watched it. And I don't know, I'm a big comic book superhero fan. Like, I love Batman. My biggest is Batman. I'm the biggest Batman aficionado ever. I've seen all the movies a bunch of times. I have like costumes, I have posters, all that stuff. And I'm a big Marvel fan too. Spider-Man, Fantastic Four, the Hulk, Captain America I got really into with the movie. And anyway, and so Marvel's doing all these things, of course, as we know, putting out all these movies about all these superheroes. And honestly, Ant-Man was like, really? Ant-Man? Like, I've heard of him once in my entire life.
Are you ready to become a hero?
Kind of thing. He's not like the biggest of superheroes, but I'm like, we'll see what happens to the movie. And I saw the trailer and that was blown away. So I was like, I have to watch this movie. So let's get right into the review. What I was really excited to see was that the film got right into it. There was no BS. It was just like, boom, 1989. And I was like, whoa, I was blown away. A little bit of a segue. I'm going to do another review soon of another movie that I thought was awesome, and I have a lot of problems with that movie because of pacing and just like all this content that doesn't belong. The reason I say that was this movie got to the point. It is 100 minutes long. It is just enough for the story. There wasn't, I felt like, all this extra material in the movie just to add for filler or to make it longer or whatever the reason. It got right to the point. It got right to the story, but with, of course, building and anticipation. It did a really good job with. What I love was seeing Michael Douglas, a young Michael Douglas. I mean, they're bringing some star power. Michael Douglas is, I mean, the son of Kirk Douglas. He's a legend in film, and so to bring him into like a superhero Ant-Man movie, I think that was pretty good. And of course, Michael Douglas being Hank Pym and then kind of passing the torch over to Paul Rudd's character Scott. I think that was fantastic. It was like Hank was the original Ant-Man, and you know, they did a really good job with that. Michael Douglas did a great job. Good. I think he fills out the part really well. There's some gravitas in his character, which I do love. I think Paul Rudd hit out of the park. I really haven't watched many of his movies, and I was kind of shaky about him taking the lead, but I think this part was like almost made for him to.
What do you want me to do? I want you to break into a place and steal some stuff. Makes sense.
To be honest with you, he was really good at it. He was very believable at that kind of nice, likable criminal type guy with, for the most part, good intentions and the family man trying to struggle, all that. I really liked that dilemma that he had. It was very real to me. It drew me in. The story was nice and juicy. It was mostly clear. I could understand what the story was about. Some movies, it's like, what is going on? What's the story? This one was very clear. I wouldn't say for dummies, but it got to the point. There was no complex story that you had to really figure out. Now the friend, Luis, was hilarious.
She left me.
Oh.
Yeah, my mom died too. And my dad got deported.
Sometimes they put like a comic relief or a friend or buddy in the movie and it's like too much. Jar Jar Binks. But this guy Luis was awesome. He was at the story at certain times when he needed to be, but he didn't flood the movie. There wasn't too much of him. There was just enough.
But I got the van.
There was a little bit of advertising in the movie, Baskin Robbins. It was funny, but it was funny. It was good funny. There was times in the movie where, okay, the fight scenes where things got serious in a way of like, there's a seriousness. This movie wasn't a parody of itself.
And these are your greatest allies.
I would say it wasn't. It was more like, we understand what this is. This is Ant-Man. It didn't take itself too seriously in the sense of like, we're gonna make an Oscar award-winning performance of this movie. It's going to win Best Picture of the Year. But that's not what this movie's about. But they still did a really good job of making this Ant-Man character interesting. Why would you want a guy who shrinks down to ant size? But that's where the genius comes in. Because I'm a big fan of Honey, I Shrunk the Kids, if you've seen the movie back in the 90s or in the 80s, I believe. Then they made other movies. But the idea of like the CGI now, the being able to shrink someone, I think the shots were beautifully done, very well done. They made sense. It was part of the story, comical relief. It was just all there. This movie had it all. Now, T.I., I think he was in the movie. I've liked a few of his songs. But honestly, I think he's the weakest in terms of acting chops. Like, he was overacting. If I had to really criticize part of the movie, like, I didn't mind that he was in, but when I saw him, I was like, oh, here's the guy who can't really act that well, in my opinion. I don't think he was the strength of this movie. I did love that the character of Scott was not a perfect person, but he did have good intentions, and it ended up working. The character ended up working for me. There wasn't anything missing. Like I said, it was very much to the point. I was entertained. I was on this adventure. And it was believable for what it was. It wasn't outlandish in the sense of we're gonna go and save the universe and the whole cosmos with every single star. No, like, it made sense. They went to get something that was valuable, but it was valuable to an individual and then to another. I don't want to give too much away because you have to watch the movie, but it is very, very much worth it if there's even a slight bit of interest in this movie. Now, the villain, Corey Stoll, who plays Darren, I think he was excellent. He was, I have some notes here. He was sneaky. He was unafraid, and then as the movie goes on, we see more of his darkness. It kind of comes out. We even see some insecurity in the character in the beginning, which I think was pretty good. Like, he was like, how does my tie look kind of thing, and you're like, this guy's the villain, really? But then, like, he grows and you're like afraid of him. You're like, this guy can do some damage with what he has. And so I think that was very much well done. Of course, there was a great heist scene where he goes in and tries to steal something, and I think it was very much well done. It was well thought out. There was like science involved about metal expanding as opposed to using nitrogen. It was just really good. It was very believable. I'm not a scientist, but it was very believable to me in the education that I have. And so I think that's something that will appeal to a lot of people. The relationship between Hank and Scott, I think, was genius. I put in my notes, I love, love, love it. It was well done. It was needed. They each needed each other, and I love that. It was an interesting relationship. It was like very much son-in-law to father-in-law. There was a few scenes where, of course, we have the training of Ant-Man. I think it was just well done. I don't know how I could explain it. There were a lot of comedic elements, but they made sense. When you're learning something, you're gonna fail, and they made those failures funny, whereas they could have made them not funny, but they put some thought into it. They made it great. You see the progression of the character. You see growth. The Last Jedi, that was not there. Anyway, going back to that review, you see growth in the character. You see growth in Paul Rudd's character. You see growth in Michael Douglas's character. Evangeline Lilly hit it out of the park too. In the beginning, I was like shaky about her, but then her character you started seeing a little bit more about her, a little more depth. You started seeing some opposed beliefs in her. She was wrestling, and I think that was good, wrestling with her character, wrestling with her intentions. Then there was the scientific aspects of it. I honestly didn't look it up, but it was very believable. There were different types of species of ants that were involved, and they all had different jobs. There was like the flying ants, and then the ants that, you know, bridge the gap, the fire ants, and then we have the bullet ants, and they have like the scientific name, and people know the names, and I don't know, I think it was really good. It was very respectful in that sense. Like, it wasn't just like about this guy who puts a suit on and then shrinks, and then he's like punching people. That was just part of the film. That was actually a very, very small part. A lot of the film, like I said, his story, his depth, it was something I very much respect. Scenes where we shrink down with Ant-Man, and you see like a fight, and it's really intense, and then like a giant object comes in, but it's like a train that's like literally like an inch long. But then of course, because you're shrunk, it's like gigantic. It's like an actual train, and you see the huge train come toward you, and then you see a small shot Vic just going bloop. And so, you know what I mean? It was just like well thought out. This was not put together over the weekend. Then even things like sound and the way it was edited, I think was really good. There was even sounds between the large objects and the smaller objects, and the sound made it comedic, just sounds. And I was kind of blown away by that, because I was like, whoever did that, I don't know if that's the director exactly, I'm guessing the director, but it was just really, really well done, and I was floored by the picture. I was expecting a lot, and I felt I got a lot. If you weren't expecting much, I think you really, really would enjoy it. But I was expecting really, really good stuff, and I got really, really good stuff. So I have no choice but to give this film an A. And I do it gladly, and I think it deserves it. And believe me, I know comic book movies that are really bad, so don't think that I'm just like, oh, it's a comic book film, it's gonna get it. No, I think this film really did a good job. Again, it's not Oscar award winning. It is nothing that you're gonna watch and cry about. It's a comedic, serious tone movie in terms of the adventure that it takes you on, and it's a really well-rounded package. I want to watch this over and over again. Thank you so much for watching, guys and gals. What are your thoughts down below? I really do appreciate a thumbs up. It does help out my channel and the video. We'll see you all next time, and don't forget, be hopeful.